A very good day and a warm welcome to another episode of SARS SMME Thursdays. Our role is to assist SMMEs to understand and comply with their tax obligations. My name is Mandy and I'll be your host for today. Did you know that a small business, that is a company, a trust, or a sole proprietor, must pay income tax in advance for each tax year? That is to assist small businesses to pay their taxes on an ongoing basis rather than paying a large tax amount once when the annual tax return is submitted. What does this mean and how does it happen? Well, I am not alone on today's episode. I have an expert that will educate us on today's topic. Mr. Yamkela, welcome to today's episode.
Good day, Mandy, and thanks for having me. It is indeed an honor and privilege to be contributing towards providing clarity as well as certainty and as well as making it easy for SMMEs to comply with their tax obligations.
Please educate us. What is provisional tax?
All right, so firstly, provisional tax is like a down payment towards your income tax liability. Or to put it differently, it is a part payment towards your income tax. So it is a tax type that is designed to assist small business reduce the burden of having to pay a huge amount when submitting an annual income tax return. It also allows tax to be spread over the year. So taxpayers here are required to make at least two payments in advance. And these payments or amounts are based on an estimated taxable income, which is basically income after having considered the expenses as well as allowable deductions. And thirdly, we've got an optional payment, which is called a top-up payment, where it is required after the end of the tax year should there be a shortfall in the tax that has been paid.
Thank you. That was a mouthful. So it is safe to say provisional tax is a simplified way of submitting your tax and it reduces the large tax burden, as you have mentioned. Now tell us, can anyone become a provisional taxpayer?
All right, so just as a reminder to our SMMEs that provisional tax is not a separate tax from income tax. So yes, any person, being it a trust, being it a sole proprietor or even a company who receives income other than employment income is a provisional taxpayer. So in most cases, salary earners will not be considered as provisional taxpayers if there are no other sources of income that they receive. And it is also important to know that small businesses or company automatically fall into the provisional tax system. It is also important to know that there is no longer a registration or a deregistration process for one to become a provisional taxpayer. So the obligation is on the taxpayer to determine if they are liable for the payment of provisional tax.
Thank you. Now tell us, who is not regarded as a provisional taxpayer?
All right, so there are persons that are excluded from the payment of provisional tax. And amongst others, these include a deceased estate, and a small business funding entity, as well as associations that are not liable to pay tax as approved by the SARS Commissioner. But of course, for a more detailed list of these businesses or entities that are excluded from the payment of provisional tax, our viewers at home can access this information on our SARS website, which is www.sars.gov.za.
Thank you very much. So what are the benefits of paying provisional tax?
All right, so some of the benefits are that you avoid having to pay large amounts upon the submission of your income tax return because the payments are made during the tax year in advance. And also it assists the taxpayers to avoid having to pay additional tax amounts upon the submission of the annual income tax return. And of course, you become in control of your own tax obligations in terms of having to be indebted to SARS.
That is so interesting, and we believe our viewers at home are learning from this insightful information. Please do tell us, when and how must one pay provisional tax?
All right, so we actually encourage our taxpayers as well as our small businesses to utilize the e-filing platform in submitting any tax return, including the provisional tax form, which is also known as an IRP6 form. So it is important to ensure that the provisional tax type or the IRP6 tax type is successfully activated on e-filing. So in the submission, so the first submission and payment is expected for the first 6 months of the year of assessment. So the first provisional tax submission and payment that is due will be having the period ending 31st August for those small businesses or companies that have got a financial year that begins 1 March. So the second payment is also due on the last business day of the year of assessment in question. So this means that for those businesses or small businesses or companies that have got a financial year end or a financial year that begins 1st of March and ends in February, then that second submission and payment must be made on or before the 29th or the 28th or the 29th of February for the year of assessment in question. And also, as mentioned earlier, that should there be a shortfall in terms of the top-up payment, that should be made not later than the effective date.
Oh, thank you very much. So how must one make payment over to SARS in a case where they're expected to pay?
All right, so we have got the following payment channels available for our small businesses, which is a payment at a bank branch, where you will use the payment reference number as well as the beneficiary ID, and also payments through the SARS e-filing as well as the electronic funds transfer, which is also known as EFT.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yamkela, for joining us. To our viewers at home, always remember that by submitting your return and making payment timeously and accurately, you can ensure a smooth submission process. Underestimation or underpayment of taxable income may result in penalties and interest. For more information on provisional tax, please visit our SARS website on www.sars.gov.za or visit our YouTube channel called SARS TV for navigation of our digital channels as well as other webinars that we have hosted. Always remember to do the right thing. #YourTaxMatters.